Hello and welcome everybody. This is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey and I'm joined as always by Sam Proof. Today we're actually catching up on some video and live streaming updates. So we're following up on some new releases, some new announcements, and some things that we've actually spoken about on the show previously. So we're going to be talking about YouTube Shorts, CapCut, Camtasia, Rode, TikTok and Instagram, and OBS Studio. So that's all coming up ahead in a moment. We're going out live to all the various places, so please let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you today. So, Sam, how's your week been? I get the feeling it's been a pretty hectic one.
It's been busy. Yeah, I had some freelance work come up that was like a rush work on top of other work that was already assigned. And then from like the end of April to the end of May is just like birthday after birthday in this house. So we just celebrated Iris's birthday. We're just getting ready for her party. And then I've got mine and Betty's got hers. And we're doing all this major stuff because we converted our den into a bedroom. So we're still sort of moving things around. But yeah, other than that, Kitten Cam's going good. We had some downtime on the YouTube stream. So my quest to hit 4,000 watch time hours by my birthday has taken like a big dip. Like we're off track by about 5 days, and I'm trying to make progress on there. So we'll see if I can get back into it. How's everything with you?
Everything with me's going pretty well. It's been an interesting week. I'm trying to sort of switch up some things that I'm doing in terms of my content creation. It's funny, I've got it down to a bit of a science, but I just kind of worry I'm not having any fun anymore. So I'm trying to switch it up a little bit and try
Yeah.
a few new things, and I'll probably talk about those in a future show. But yeah, I mean, it's so far so good. It is the weekend here already in Australia. It's Saturday, and I've got my coffee, so I can't complain too much. So that's always good. Uh,
Cheers.
Although I should say this one's getting rather cold now, but that's okay. I'll sip it throughout the show, I'm sure. All right, so today we're sort of catching up on some updates, some announcements, some new versions of things. And I think the place we should start with first is YouTube, actually. So YouTube and this was something I whinged about on the show, and they did eventually listen because the irony of all this was that Google are the makers of the Android platform that if you've got a phone that isn't Microsoft or Apple, is probably running that. And one of the
Yep.
features they brought to their iOS devices was the ability to reply to a long form video comment as a YouTube short.
Yeah.
And I complained about this one not being available, but they have literally just in the last week or two brought this out. So that's a very exciting thing. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. And it's kind of weird because I do most of my video production on my desktop computer, so it's going to be a whole other thing if I start making videos on my phone. As much as I know a lot of people do love doing that, it's something I'm not crazy about myself, but we've got that. So we've got the ability to essentially reply, but you've also got the ability to choose a thumbnail for your shorts on both iOS and Android devices as well. I don't know if have you done much of that, Sam? I
Um,
always let it default to whatever is available.
yeah, with shorts, I early on had like been doing some thumbnail stuff, and then I was like, it seems pointless. No one ever sees those because just the nature of viewing shorts, you're bypassing that whole, you know, placeholder.
Mm.
Um, but I do think that being able to, create shorts out of long form content and things like that is super great. I bet there's like channels out there that don't make original content necessarily. Not to say that it's not original, but that they just are these sort of react channels, kind of like old school YouTube.
It's it's a weird thing, and especially I think on say TikTok, where maybe I don't know if I should say this, but maybe the copyright isn't policed quite as heavily as it is on
Sure.
YouTube.
Yeah. There's
Um,
definitely different rules.
I just heard this thing during the week that was like, if you're not making short form content out of your own videos, somebody else
Mm-hmm.
probably is. So
Sure.
that's a weird thing to keep in mind, but certainly that's all happening. Again, I know we've mentioned it on the show as well, but YouTube have sort of rolled out their YouTube podcast playlist feature,
Yeah.
which is something that a lot of old school podcasters have a lot of feelings about. But apparently, within the US, I think it is predominantly, if you have sort of designated a particular YouTube playlist as a podcast, it should be available on YouTube Music. So that might
Oh,
be
okay.
another place to get a little bit of traction in
Interesting.
terms of listening.
Okay. I know they also have plans on releasing an RSS feature so that you can then forward this entire playlist podcast to the, legit OG podcast sources, Apple and all iTunes, whatnot. So I'm waiting for that. I think that's going to be exciting, and we'll see. I've seen a lot of people talking about how because it's a newer thing, YouTube's pushing it. So anyone who has a podcast playlist is seeing like a boom in their numbers. We've made this into a podcast as well on YouTube. It's gotten more. I don't know if I would call it a boom, but it's something.
It's and maybe you and I need to compare our numbers a little bit because this
Yeah,
goes out
maybe.
to both of our channels. So
Yeah, that's true.
let's just going to take a moment to check in with the chat. So hi to CG who's joining us, and Walter Strong the third. Thank you for joining
Welcome,
us.
welcome.
It's great to have your company. Today we're actually catching up with a number of video and live streaming updates, so new releases, improvements to programs and products, and some new things that haven't really even been released yet but have been teased. So I guess the next one on the list is let's talk about Camtasia. So Camtasia is sort of video editing software, but it also gives you the ability to record not just yourself, but also your screen. And I guess its superpower in some ways is the ability to capture the metadata when you do record it. So it's great for making software tutorials, and it captures things like the path that your cursor actually made. So you can do all kinds of cool stuff with that. And we've done an entire show sort of comparing CapCut and Camtasia in the past. So check out the archives if you want to learn more about that one. They have just recently released their 2023 Camtasia release. Um, I really like this product and this company. I like to support this company. And I'm not a huge fan of new novel things at the best of times. So to be honest, I probably could still be using the same version I started with, 10 years ago for the most part. But it's interesting to see the things they're bringing in. So let's talk about some of those. Um, so one of the things that I've mentioned this on the show previously too is the background control. They do have an AI tool. It is technically still in beta. To easily remove a background, even a complicated or multicolor background with no green screen required. I did personally find this a little hit and miss.
Mhm.
So I mean, I literally have a green screen, so I'll probably continue to use that and remove the color with that remove a color feature. They've also got some expanded image and animation controls, which is really nice. There are some other features that they've brought out as well. So under the hood improvements, it's sort of faster and more powerful. The canvas rulers have changed actually, so that is really cool because lining stuff up in video visually is really really awesome. There's an improved Camtasia Home, which is not terribly exciting, but they've noted it nonetheless. The corner pinning, so you can actually add 3D effects to your images and videos. I haven't had a chance to play with this one just yet. Variable speed playback is coming, and it's interesting because I don't like to speed up or slow down anything in terms of video and audio, but I know some people do, and I guess especially if you're editing, that might be a useful feature because you don't want to sit through the entire thing in real time, especially if it's an hour long. Social media style filters, a vignette effect, which seems like a weird thing to be adding this late in the course
Yeah,
of.
it's like, why isn't that should be in 1.0? Like,
Yes, that
how
is a weird one.
crazy.
And hilariously, they did actually release an update. I think it was actually to the previous version for Valentine's Day with a whole bunch
Mhm.
of love heart effects and transitions and things. So
Okay.
those are some new things happening in Camtasia. I guess the other thing I'll note about Camtasia too is this is software you buy outright. It's not a subscription model, but they do have what they call a maintenance plan. And if you pay, X dollars per year, you'll get the new version automatically. Um, the only weird thing about that is that if I look at my computer and I type in the word Camtasia, I've got Camtasia 2020, I've got Camtasia 2021, I've got Camtasia
Mhm.
2023 and 2022. Like, I've got all these versions. And to be honest, I could go in and uninstall those if I wanted to. I just think it's funny. And occasionally, you might actually need to go back to one of those early versions if there's some weirdness in a project.
Yeah. I think we can answer Walter's question when we move
Sure.
on to the next actual topic.
Okay, awesome. Let's do that then. So Sam, talk to me all about the CapCut updates, and I'll share what I learned about this today in a moment. But
Yeah.
yes.
So it's funny because the thing that we found right before the show is not on the list that the version update shows, but there's three big updates. The first one being that CapCut now removes filler words like and and stuff like that. I did a test with this briefly, only one. I think this is part of their pro, so you do have to have a subscription for that particular thing, but it gives you like the readout and then tries to upsell you. I wasn't super impressed by it. It's as good as anything else that does this. It's like so far needs work. Uh,
Yeah, so I guess and it's good to hear that feedback because I sort of asked Sam about this a little while
yeah.
ago, and I guess my experience with this is in Descript, and it has tools where you can remove all the ums and the ahs, but that sounds really, really disjointed and
Yeah.
weird. And if you're cutting audio and video, it's probably even worse again. I mean, I literally just said but I encourage people to just be okay with saying and
Yeah,
especially if you're talking live.
I think there is a certain level where it's easily just glossed over by the human brain, and it's stuff like what I just did was horrible and you would definitely want to replace that. But it's one of those things where it's not so cut and dry that you can just be like find these sounds and cut those phonemes out. Actually, and John's gonna hate this, it needs to have an AI backing it that goes, is this important, is this a seamless cut, does this make sense? And so far nobody's doing it right, but we'll see. Anyway, so one of the other big things that they released is you can now move keyframes on your tracks, whereas before they have a special dock for your keyframes and you had to like finagle it there. You can actually do it on the timeline now, which is so good. Like that was a huge ask that I had had in the past, because that's just I'm a visual editor, and having it right there, it makes a lot more sense than somewhere off on the side toggling it between here and there, and who knows. And the last big thing on their list is you can now adjust the speed for multiple clips together, which I feel like I tried to do, and maybe I was trying to do something else. No, I don't think I tested this. I think I'm confusing it with me trying to do something else with multiple clips. Um, but in response to Walter's question, which let's throw that
Hmm.
up here, uh, which is what would be a good mobile app on iPhone that you would recommend to do horizontal video editing? I use Captions app for my verticals. So I actually do recommend CapCut. I think CapCut is a great tool. It will let you change aspect ratios. So you can do 16 by 9, 9 by 16, 1 by 1. You can make up your own aspect ratio. The beauty of CapCut is you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your PC, you can do it on your Mac. I probably have a Linux version, I don't know. Um, and you can sync all of those together. So if you wanted to move a project you'd started on your phone to a computer, you could do that. So I personally would recommend CapCut for your needs, especially mobile. Depending on what you're specifically doing, I may have other suggestions, but right now that's my go-to.
Okay, and I guess the other thing we and I think there is actually a in browser version of CapCut
Yeah.
too. So
Oh,
they've really
yeah.
got every angle covered, and it's
Yes.
funny because Sam I think only uses it on his phone. I only use it on desktop. So
No, so if I'm doing a bigger project where I actually expect to have more than 3 pieces of content involved, it will be something I do on the PC. There's, a good amount of, like, meme viral stuff that only requires a couple clips, and I'll do that really quick in, like, a 10-minute span on my phone. But if I think I'm gonna be spending more time on something, that's definitely going to the PC. Like, all of these I do a lot of freelance gigs, and I've stopped paying for Adobe, and I'm doing it all in CapCut PC now.
it's funny, and I know I've said this before, but it's mind-bogglingly good for free software.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm always looking for the catch, and I haven't found it yet. But and I should say in full disclosure, the only thing I mean I do edit in Camtasia, but what I have been using CapCut for is to actually go in and burn in those captions at the end.
yeah, it does a
Um,
good job on that. I do wish that the aesthetic values of, the captions thing was a little better, but for free and quick, it's fine.
and again, I don't particularly want to go down a huge rabbit hole on this one, but it's one of those weird things that sometimes the captions that beat you over the head and grab your attention are great for that purpose, but they're not
Yeah,
really accessible captions. So different people in your audience may actually need different things.
that's fair.
And I mean, it's just something to keep in mind. But I guess the other thing that we sort of discovered, like literally minutes before we came on this morning, was this. So I've just upgraded to CapCut 2.1.0
Mhm.
on my desktop computer, and it had this new exciting thing called Spaces. So essentially, I can go into my space. I can invite other people to collaborate with me on my space. It looks like by default they give you 1 gigabytes worth of space, but the thing that you can't see just underneath this invite dialogue is that they say that after you upload your first project, you will get 10 gigabytes worth of space. And that's mind-boggling. But like if you're thinking about actually collaborating with somebody, or you're thinking about maybe working a little bit between your phone and your computer, or maybe somebody else's phone and your computer, or vice versa, that is kind of amazing. It does note that you do need version 8.1.0 on the mobile, or CapCut Desktop 2.1.0, which is literally the most recent. But you can come in here. So I clicked on the little person icon in the top right hand corner of this screen. I can go and add, I can essentially send this invite to somebody else. They can click on it, or they can just copy and paste the little code out of that. So that in itself is amazing.
Yeah,
And I get the feeling that CapCut do have sort of premium things they can sell you, but that's
yeah.
even the free version is just so good. Like they're making such a play for that market.
Yeah. They do have a fair amount of sort of, premium upsells within their thing. You go into a project and it has the different transitions and effects and stuff. There's a solid amount of good ones that you can just use for free. But yeah, there are better ones, if you are willing to get the subscription, but yeah, it's so good as like all the stuff that is available for free. I almost never, to put this in comparison to Canva, where almost every time I set something up, I'm like, ah, damn it, that's a pro one. I almost never accidentally pick the pro thing, and like seconds later, I'm like, I gotta take that out now because they just
Absolutely.
have good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
All right.
it's yeah, again, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but it is I do see two sort of trends emerging. One is sort of the monthly subscription model.
Mhm.
And it sounds so reasonable, like 15, 20, $30 a month. But the minute you have five or six of those, it
Right.
gets very, very pricey very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing that you noted about Canva, like when they start upselling you on, a feature by feature basis, that is just maddening.
It's like, oh, I wanted that raindrop image.
Mm.
I gotta. I'm not gonna do that. There's a little. I can just find that online. Give me a break, guys.
So yeah, I guess, and generally speaking, like all the standard disclaimers apply. Use what
Yeah.
you've got. Use what works for you. It doesn't really matter how you get to the final result as long as it's the result you want. You really just got to develop a process that works for you. So let's talk a little bit about OBS. And this only came, so they've released version 29.1. This is very, very new. I think only a couple of days old, 3 days old, in
Yeah.
fact. I haven't had a chance to install this one or really have a close look at this, but there's obviously a lot going on. A number of people reached out to me during the week to say how excited they were for this. So I guess let's just have a really quick look at some of
Hmm.
the new features. And some of this is a little technical, so it may not
Yeah.
be for beginners, but it is sort of good to know for more experienced users. So they've added this support for this new streaming codec, which at the moment apparently is only used by YouTube. So if you're streaming it to anywhere else, it doesn't mean anything at all. You've got the ability to work with multi audio tracks in simple output recording mode. There's a DLL blocking feature. So this allows OBS to block problematic DLLs from attaching to OBS and causing freezing or crashes. For example, third-party overlay hooks and outdated video capture devices.
Hmm.
So there's different codecs. There's a lot of quite technical stuff. I guess one of the things that I did see people comment on was that they've improved the way stingers work in the software, which is awesome.
Right.
Because we want to make sure that all happens beautifully. I
I
know.
will say. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, I know that you've installed this on one of your two computers, so
Yeah.
you may have had more of an opportunity to play around with
I
this.
really haven't, knowing what these features are now, I haven't played with any of these. I will say the thing with the Stinger, um, is that this is me just guessing, really hyperbole and all, but I would assume that this is going to actually consume a little more CPU or RAM to compensate for basically buffering a scene inside a Stinger.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly something to keep in mind, and it's funny because OBS is this really powerful tool, and some people are really nerdy and geeky and will use every feature under the sun.
Right.
But I think for I want to say 95% of all people, there's the detail that's in this new release. As much as we love the increased stability, like I don't think there are things in here that are going to rock people's world unless they're a little bit nerdier.
No. Yeah, I really the Stinger thing is I think the coolest kind of thing there really. And it's more back end really. It's not really something that I think people are going to notice anything s- about. One of the things you didn't mention, which I think is interesting because I've got crappy old eyes, is they added the ability to zoom browser docs with Control plus or minus.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I wasn't aware of that,
Yeah.
but again, and we spoke about this on the show, like I have decent eyes, I have decent screens, but a lot of this is going to a small little external display that I'm
Yeah.
looking at in my teleprompter. So
That's
it's
very
funny,
helpful.
I've literally been using sort of the magnifying tool on Windows to because I guess the thing is I can see you fine and I can have this
Mhm,
chat and
mhm.
operate most of Restream Studio, which is what we're in. But if I do have a comment, I'm not going to see it on my little teleprompter.
Right.
It's just too small. So I mean that's awesome. I love the ability to zoom in on those docs because those docs can be quite powerful. I haven't had a chance to install this. I was going to do this right before the show, and I thought, no, John, that's tempting fate too much. So don't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess all my standard disclaimers do apply here, though. So before you run out and upgrade, it might be worthwhile to download a portable version and just back up your scene collections. Just try it out. Make sure everything's still working. I guess the biggest problem is that you might have a plugin that doesn't work with the new version
Yeah.
that your stream relies on. And if that is the case, I'd probably just say just hold off until that developer has a chance to catch up. This is 29.1, so it's not really a major release in that sense. So hopefully not too much has changed, but I mean it's good stuff, and it's just very nerdy stuff. So I don't know how deep we want to go into this for today's show, but again, we'll certainly keep an eye on that and let you know about things that we discover as we work with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined as always by Sam Proof. Today we're catching up with some video and live streaming updates. So some of the things that we've been looking at already include our YouTube updates. The Android update, Android app for YouTube has finally given us the ability to reply to horizontal video comments with a short, which is awesome. TechSmith have released their 2023 version of Camtasia. CapCut has released a whole bunch of weird and wonderful things as well, and we just spoke about OBS Studio's 29.1 release. So there's a lot going on, a lot to keep up with. So let's talk a little bit about this one, and this is very exciting. And I should say up front, if you're the kind of person that likes acquiring gear, this might be a little dangerous, this segment, because Rode have announced that they're bringing out a whole bunch of new and exciting things. Rode is a company that I'm very quite fond of. I've been telling myself for quite a while now that these things are beautiful, but I don't really need them. But that said, like Rode, if you're listening, if you want to send us some things to review and try out, we'd be very happy to do that. But
Yeah,
let's
definitely.
unpack some of these things because first of all, we've got the Rodecaster Duo.
Hmm.
So this is basically just a smaller version of the Rodecaster Pro 2. It's got two I think it's got two inputs
Yep.
for the in terms of the XLR. You've got the ability to bring those in. You've got the sound pad. It's a more compact unit that you can have on a smaller desk. It's a beautiful thing. And you probably need to enjoy those RGB colors that
Yeah.
every button has, but it's a really nice idea, and I love the idea of this one being a little bit more portable. So maybe you can actually take it and travel with it. Rode have actually also released a bag specifically designed for some of these things too. So if you wanted to take it and travel, that is certainly an option. And again, I've got the original Rodecaster Pro, and it's a beautiful unit. I'm still using it. I'm still loving it. I have no real reason to upgrade. And it does probably have a few things on here that aren't on this one here. But to be honest, if you're one or two people, recording a podcast in the same environments, this could be a really great way of doing it. And I guess the other thing to keep in mind about the Rodecaster line generally is that you can put in an SD card and you can record an entire audio podcast on this device without even having a computer. So if you are traveling, if you're interviewing people on the road, if you'll forgive the pun, that is another way of working. So the one that I'm really, really excited about though is this one here. This is the Rode X Streamer X. So this is amazing, and I guess one of the markets that Rode have obviously identified as a good place for market growth is the streamers and the streamers that stream video games specifically. And I think this Rode X line is really marketed towards them specifically. This unit has sort of one XLR input and one HDMI input. So if you just are a single person and you've got a microphone and you've got a web camera or a video camera, maybe something a little bit better than the standard web camera, you can plug these in. You can ready to go. You can adjust. They obviously have knobs instead of faders. They have a smaller sound pad option there, but you do have the buttons to go between different profiles. So it doesn't have the same display. So one nice thing about the earlier version of the Rodecaster that I've got is that I do have a display, and I can sort of go and see what sound is on which button in a way that you probably can't do with this one. But to be honest, this is such a beautifully compact option. Again, if you're traveling, if you're taking this to the office, it's very, very simple. And I love the fact that they've actually managed to marry up, the audio and the video together in this way. So, okay. So, Sam, did you want to? I feel like I've been talking a while. Do you want to interject on this one?
I mean, yeah, I just want to point this out. Where'd that go? Walter asks, Sam and John, is this available yet? And what is the price range on it? So yes, it is. It's all over the place. It runs about $399 that I've seen it listed. So there you go. And I'm just opening my Amazon wish list right now. Yeah,
It's one of
no,
those
so
weird things
good.
that obviously we're in different parts of the world and our currencies are weird at the best of times. But
Yeah.
I part of the reason I'm talking about this today is because I mean, I got an email from a company called Video Guys, videoguys.com.au here in Australia. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but they did, and essentially these things are pre-order here in Australia. I'm not sure if they're more readily available in America. They could be. Um, for the Rotor X Streamer X, it's currently 649 Australian dollars. So you know and the Rodecaster Duo was 799 again Australian dollars. So they are an investment, but to be honest,
Yeah.
I think they're pretty good value for what they represent. And you know, if I compare the price of the original Rodecaster and you know, even just the Elgato, what is the word I'm looking for, Sam? The capture card device,
The Cam
the Cam
Link,
Link.
Cam
Yeah.
Link
So
Pro, and
even
all of
that,
that.
you know, those two things together, a lot of
Yeah.
these products are probably very similar, or you know, a little bit cheaper. In fact, and they all come into the same sort of environments. And especially like if you're attempting to do a lot of this stuff remotely and you're working with a laptop, it's not a trivial thing that you know you've got one out the output from you know say this device. Let me just bring it up on the screen again. So you know you're just traveling. Maybe you've got your laptop. You can go out of this device and get the audio and the video together rather than have two separate connections on your computer. So that in itself is really cool. Again, we haven't physically got our hands on any of these things yet,
Right.
so maybe wait until they are more readily available and you know check out some of those YouTube reviews that will inevitably come out. But I just love the idea of this. I love how compact it is. I love that it's really designed for a single person because you know if you're not sitting around a table talking to somebody in the same physical space, this is probably all you need. So is one audio and one video. It's not to say that
Uh,
you couldn't add additional things
yeah,
on top of that if you wanted to, but yeah, go ahead,
sure.
Sam.
Oh, I was just gonna say, FYI, I was just looking at BHP Photo, and it's according to them, the availability is June 30th.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it is a little bit of a tease, so it's a little bit still to come, but it's I mean it's lovely stuff, and I said to Sam before we came on live, I keep telling myself that I don't need these things, but my God, they're beautiful. So
Yeah.
let's talk about another one from Rode. So this is the Pod Mic USB. So this is a variation of an existing microphone that Rode have that was purely XLR, but now it's XLR and USB. And again, I love these microphones. And when I say these microphones, I love anything that gives you the option of XLR or USB because it gives you so
Mhm.
much flexibility. We mentioned last week that Sam's using a new microphone, the Samsung, I want to say Q2U. Is that
Yes.
yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah. So and that also gives you XLR and USB. It just there are Shure versions. The MV7 also give you that ability. It's just really beautiful because if you're just at your computer, if you're just at your laptop, if you're on the road, you can just plug in that USB cable and go. But if you're maybe in an environment with more people and you want to go via an audio interface, you can do that as well. So you can really take it in whatever direction you want to take it, which is really, really awesome. Okay, and I just want to, I'll turn that off for a second. And you know, I completely agree with Walter. So he's saying that this is a game changer for me. Price, and features what I've been waiting for. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, Rode have sort of identified there are different markets and different people want different things, and they're giving them more options. And I think it's a beautiful thing. One last product before we move on from this is the Rode charging case for the Wireless Go 2. And this is the Wireless Go 2 is one of the wireless mic options that the Rode give you. Essentially, here we've got two microphones and a receiver. The beautiful thing about this case can carry them, but it can also charge them, which I think there were actually some people outside of Rode producing similar things, and I think Rode sort of cottoned on to the fact that this was a
Right.
very good idea and they should do their own version. So
Nice.
that's a really beautiful thing. And you can attach lapel mics to this. You can actually they've got their sort of man in the street type microphone that you can hold and put one of those units in there as well. But it's just like it's a very little thing, but I think it's really helpful because especially if you are shooting remotely, you want to make sure those microphones are charged because there's nothing worse than going out in location with all the expensive equipment and all
Yep.
the expensive talent and going, oh no, the microphones aren't working.
Yeah. I've seen a few different Twitch users that or Twitch streamers that use that mic, and I think that's great. They're a little bulky as far as being a lav. But the brilliance is that it's two mics to one receiver. So if you are just a single person and you're gonna go for a long, long time, you can just have that one as a backup and be like, just make the switch. Not a big deal. You don't have to put in a new receiver. So I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so those are some of the things that we've been made aware of in the last few weeks. So, is there anything that you're particularly excited about or that you want to draw our attention to, Sam,
Yeah.
whether it's part of that or beyond that? I think actually one thing that I haven't created a caption for, but you wanted to address was some algorithm updates.
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of source on this, so some of this is secondhand information, and some of this, I've just seen repeated over and over again. Both Instagram and TikTok have made some new changes to their thing, and I figured we would go over those really quick here. So Instagram, I can't remember if it was the CEO or someone else high up on their team. They'd gotten a lot of backlash for just how much video focus they had done last year, and somebody, there had even been like like I think it was a change.org campaign to make them stop something like it got like 300,000 signups or something ridiculous. And yeah, somebody pretty high up said that they did focus too much on video in the last year and they're going to refocus 2023 on photos. So look for those sort of things to happen. Along with that, a few things have happened. They deprecated the Reel bonus program. So if you had talked to me 2 months ago, I would have been like, this is what I'm working on. I'm doing Reels on TikTok or on Instagram. Probably not say that. And they had like a creator fund where they were paying people, based on 1,000 views and videos and stuff like that. And it was all right. It was a decent amount. That's gone. They have alluded to the fact that they're going to upgrade their monetization policies and do new things, and something is going to replace that. But nothing has launched at this point. One of the big things, and I'm not sure how speculative this is, but no, it's not actually. I definitely saw this in a legit source at some point on Instagram, is that they have sort of put an importance value on video or videos and posts that have only 3 to 5 hashtags. Even though you can still do 30, they do kind of weigh that as spammy at this point. TikTok also does this where 3 to 5 is kind of the sweet spot. I think theirs might be closer to 5 to 8 if I remember accurately.
And I guess TikTok has a bit more of a character limit anyway, so you probably can't
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
any more than that in there.
That's very true. And speaking of TikTok, they released a new feature called Memories, which if anyone has Snapchat or Facebook, this is very similar to exactly what those things do over on those platforms, where you're now going to suddenly get notifications for like, here's a video you did on this day a year ago or 2 years ago, or if you've been around longer. And in theory, it's a new thing. So if you utilize it, they'll probably put a little more weight on it algorithmically. So look for that. And I don't know. Like they give me those notifications and I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I would repost that. I don't know why.
So that is the part that I was just going to ask a question about that. So not only are they showing you this and saying that last year you did blah
Yeah.
blah blah, but they're giving you an option to
To
repost it.
repost it.
That's
Yeah, that's the implication. I think on the Cute Avalanche channel, there's probably a lot more use for that because cats are cats. It's not like somebody's gonna be like, I saw this cat being cute a year ago and I am upset now. Whereas me fooling around with stupid TikTok filters is probably gonna not have the legs to repost.
It's funny. I follow one person on TikTok, and I'm going to be incredibly vague as to not give away any details. But it's not even the same video, but they open a lot of their videos with the same couple of words, and
Oh, I've
it
seen
just
that a
drives me
lot.
nuts. And I was thinking about this yesterday. It's like the sales pitch for TikTok is: do you like seeing the same thing over and over again, but with different people playing the roles? You'll love
I
TikTok.
I have
Um,
such a love-hate relationship with TikTok, and there are days where I will literally, like, be scrolling through just listening to those first 3 words, partly out of spite, just to be like, "I want something interesting," and then just partly out of just the scientific, like, method of, like, what are those 3 words? Because, yeah, there's, like, maybe a dozen that you can hear over and over again ad nauseum for different people. It's like, "Hey, YouTubers, hey, TikTokers, do you create videos?" You know, like all these things, and it's just like, I'm sure those work, which is why they're doing it, but
mm.
man, do I wanna skip that video?
I think love hate is probably the right expression to describe that, because sometimes it's just a small dose of something funny or interesting, and a
Yeah,
lot of times it's just them putting random stuff in front of you to see how you will react.
yeah,
And I sometimes I make the mistake of lingering on a video just a little
yeah,
too long,
yeah,
just to try to figure out what it even is, because it's
right.
so confusing. And then suddenly
No,
TikTok
that's
and
all you
YouTube
get.
Shorts are like, "Oh, John is just obsessed with this show. Just show him everything." And I'm like, "I'm really not. I kind of hate it. Please stop showing me
Oh,
this crap."
yeah. Oh, there
But
was a time where there was something, it was YouTube specifically, and I went in and I saw something, I scrolled past it, and I was like, "No, screw that." I went back and I was like, Not interested, downvote, boo,"
mm.
and then I kept getting it, and I was like, "What's the point?" Like, because I interacted with it negatively, that's positive? No.
And I think, like the other thing too, like, and we mentioned this only a little while ago, but there are a lot of people reposting a lot of the same vertical content on a lot of different
Yeah.
channels with or
Mhm.
without permission to do so. And like sometimes I'll go in and just say, like, I never want to see this person ever again in my entire
Yep.
life.
Mhm.
And yet they'll keep showing up because they're physically different accounts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just have such a weird relationship with TikTok and even YouTube Shorts. Although YouTube Shorts, I feel like I have a little bit more control over the kinds of things I see. But I guess the other thing too, and again, I don't want to. This is a bit of a tangent, but I guess the other thing I've noticed too is that the popular videos on all of these platforms are popular on all of these platforms. And I
Mhm.
will watch Facebook Reels one night, and they will show me all the same things that I saw yesterday on TikTok or YouTube. And
Yep.
I don't really know what maybe they're just inherently interesting or popular, but there's something about it that is so curious to me, and I can't quite work out what it is that makes these things work.
Yeah.
But that's probably a rant for another day. Anyway, so this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined by Sam Pref. Today we've been catching up with some of the updates and the new releases and the exciting announcements. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, for those that are watching, have you learnt of any new exciting things lately that you'd like to share with us in the chat? I'm certainly excited to update OBS Studio probably after today's show, and check out a few things there. And I'm really fascinated by the CapCut ability to have those spaces. So again, I might just bring that up again because I'm fascinated by that. Because you know, storage space is cheaper probably than it's ever been, but it's still not free. So the fact that they're
Right.
giving you somewhere between 1 and 10 gigabytes worth of storage for no additional cost or no cost at all is rather mind-boggling. So again, if you just joined us, this was a feature I discovered earlier today while I was preparing for today's show. I've just upgraded to CapCut Desktop 2.1.0 on my Windows computer, and I've been brought this new exciting feature called Spaces. So again, you will get your own space here. You can invite people with a special link to join that space, so you can collaborate with them and share the project and the resources inside of that project. So that is really cool. And I think, like Sam, we might need to just find some excuse to try this out later, because that is really, really interesting. Again, I know I've said I don't need it, but I have to acknowledge the fact that all the new Road releases are really so beautiful. And I think for me, this will probably be the thing that I recommend to people wanting to stream once they've established that they've got a workflow in place. They've got a proof of concept. There's something they can reproduce with their web camera and the USB mic or whatever. This is because really, if you pair this up with a nice camera and a nice microphone, maybe a boom arm, this is pretty much a complete setup all by itself. Obviously, add a computer as well and some headphones. But yeah, that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I would like to see them make like a medium, like if we're gonna call that the small, right? That's the
mhm.
solo, like a medium with 2 XLR inputs, and then like maybe a large with 4, because that would straight out replace like my Zoom H6 and my Cam Link and some other stuff, really, and be cheaper. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the possibilities are endless. So, but again, I just feel like most people, especially if you're doing things remotely and you're just even for people that are just working from home and they have to be on a meeting occasionally and
sure.
they want semi decent audio and video, like that is such a compact little unit. I love the idea of it. Again, I don't need it. I've got my own equipment. But Rode, please feel free to get in touch if you want to. But it is a nice thing. We do also have the Rodecaster Duo, which is sort of that smaller version of the Rodecaster Pro. Again, one or two people. If you're physically in the same location, that's probably all you'll need. And we've got, of course, the Rode Pod mic with USB as well. So, again, great options. And in fact, if you bought this microphone and you were using the USB connection, and then eventually you decided, hey, I might want to upgrade to this one, you can still use the same microphone. So that's amazing in itself. So yes, there are beautiful things on the way from Rode, and this is not an ad. This is definitely not an ad. But I'm just really really impressed, and I have used the original Rodecaster for years at this point, and it's such a beautiful thing. I do also own other Rode mics. This is the Procaster. Again, I use the Shure one at the moment, but they just do really nice work. Okay, so this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined by Sam Proof as always. Thank you for joining us today. We are sort of curious if there are particular topics that you would like us to cover in the future. So wherever you happen to be watching this, whether you're watching this live or maybe catching up with the recording later on, just leave us a chat message, or if you know how to contact us, reach out to us in that way as well. So I'm curious, Sam, how have you been finding the new microphone?
It's great. I actually used this on that freelance gig I just had this week, only for some punch-ins, and it's almost so good that it was very noticeable, and I had to mess with it. Because yeah, the other one I had recorded sound off the phone with I have a mic that plugs into this,
Hmm.
which isn't so different than those Rode Lavs. It's a cheaper, you know, really cheap lav mic, but it's basically the same stuff. But yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, that's how do you all find it, I think, is the question. But speaking of finding things, out of curiosity, I looked up Razer to see what they were up to, and apparently this dropped last month. It's the oh, I'm on that. Okay, it's the Razer Stream Controller X, and this is just straight out a Elgato Stream Deck competitor.
Yes.
They've released other stuff like this in the past, but this one's the new version. So it's an interesting space apparently, because you've got Elgato doing this now. Razer Loop Deck had something. I'm curious to see what. Yeah, I think we're gonna probably see one or two more clones and knockoffs come out, and then it'll wait. So it's cool. Uh, I mean, I don't know. It looks really just exactly the same. It's
Yeah.
15 buttons.
And I guess, we have been getting excited about some gear lately, so I think I have to do my standard community service announcement and say, if you don't need it, you don't have to get it. If you can't afford it, don't get it. Don't go hungry. Don't go into debt. I a lot of the times the things you already have will probably be working really, really well for you. So
Yeah.
my big thing is once you've got a workflow in place, you're able to reproduce the work, whether that's going live, whether that's recording a video and editing it and putting it on YouTube or whatever. In some ways, that's more important, and we don't really want to get too distracted by the shiny object syndrome. I know that's really hard to do in this very busy, chaotic internet connected world where we can be entertained and distracted by everything under the sun at all times.
Yeah.
So, like, really try and get clear on what you want to do and work with the stuff you've got. But that said, if Black Friday comes around or your birthday or Christmas or something and you want to treat yourself, by all means, if you can afford to do that, do it and enjoy it. So, um, those are just the things that I like to mention, because I think sometimes the worst thing you can do is say I'll get started when I have the new camera
Oh
or when
yeah,
I've got the
no.
new microphone. And really, in a lot of ways, the thing that you're developing is your concept, it's your workflow, but it's also yourself and your communication skills and your ability to position yourself as an expert in your field. So those things are things that you've got to really practice and work on as well. So keep that all in mind. But this has been the video and live streaming show. Before we start to wrap up, Sam, where can people find out more about you and watch your content and all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can find me over at samproof.tv. All my links are there, and I'm always working on cute avalanche stuff pretty much. So you can also find me over there.
Nice. And yes, cute cats never go out of style, so that's a great place to be. If you want to catch up with any of the things that I've been doing lately, you can head over to johnlacey.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Actually, if you go to the bottom of that website, there's a whole bunch of social links. So feel free to join me wherever you like to hang out. That would be awesome. So, Sam, you mentioned the cute avalanche, and you do have that birthday goal, which is sounds like it's taken a little bit of a hit due to some
Yep.
complications.
Sure.
But do you have any advice for somebody? And I won't even pretend that I'm asking for a friend, but on how to improve YouTube watch time?
I mean, it depends on the content for sure. For, Cute Avalanche, a major part of our strategy is just having that 24/7 live stream. It's really just been um, a huge windfall of watch time because it's 24/7, right? Which the average person, you cannot be expected to be doing that, depending on your niche. Unless your niche
Mm,
is forest sounds, right?
yeah.
It's not really open to a 24/7 kind of stream. But I think live streaming in general does give you a great sort of introductory area for people to like sink into, especially if it's a more conversational stream. I think what we're doing here is better for rewatch value, which is good. So that's, a good strategy in itself, is to do a live stream with the intention of rewatch value. And then you can use that remix to turn it into shorts. I think, having that combined 1-2 punch, if you will, to have the initial thing, and then essentially shorts and live streaming and regular video are three different platforms. Like, they're totally different services that do not cross audiences. So anything you can do to cross that audience and, just give people a little push in that direction, and not like a yell, not like a I do this thing on live stream. That's not going to do anything. It's not going to move the needle at all. But if you take clips out of your long form content, your live streaming content, and sort of cross promote that thing by like, here's a really poignant thing. And you do this really well. I've seen you do this time and time again on Instagram and Twitter and, all of the vertical platforms and stuff, to take those things directly, not like outside of the program in CapCut or Camtasia, but directly inside YouTube. Find that moment, clip that 7 seconds, 12 seconds, and turn it into a short. You're going to have, you've seen the traffic shorts get. 1% of those are probably going to find that thing that links them back to the original source and will actually do that. And in the long run, I think that is a good strategy. I think that's going to get you long-term subscribers that do pay attention to the live stream. I think it's hard to grab shorts people because, yeah, they're there for the swipe. They're there to be like, what's interesting? What's interesting? What's interesting? And only when they find something that really, really connects do they like stop for a second and like go, who is this? What am I doing? Or I've seen this person 5 different times now.
Yeah.
Let me actually see what else they have. So, it's a lot. And I think we all fall into this habit of like, there's 6 or 7 major platforms that we're trying to pay attention to and trying to vie for and make content for. And it's great, but at the same time, it's a distraction for, if this is the goal, if YouTube is the goal, then like all focus has to be on how can I maximize good quality content creation here, not throw a million things out.
And like that is a bit of a paradox,
Yeah.
and we could probably do an entire show on that, and I might
Oh
even
yeah.
I might even encourage you to do that, because I guess that is like, for me, LinkedIn and YouTube are the places I'm trying to grow. And my feeling is that and like I have people on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram that probably don't want to leave those
Right.
platforms,
No,
and
people don't leave.
yeah, so I mean, it's always that thing where I think, do I upload the video to the platform directly, or do I try to get them to come to YouTube? And it's
Yeah.
I guess on Facebook, for example, they can watch the video in that platform without physically leaving, and I
Yeah.
guess that counts as a view in the broader scheme.
Sure.
Just one other thing that I was kind of oblivious to about YouTube until quite recently. So the ability to actually clip other people's videos and
Yeah.
share that. And there's a whole section if you go into your settings called your clips, and this is where you're not putting it on your channel, but maybe you really want to highlight something. So when Tanya Smith from Stream Like a Boss was talking about me being on her show the following week, I sort of took a little clip of that, and I can share that out to some places. I can embed that in some
Yeah.
places.
Mhm.
I couldn't embed that in LinkedIn, in a LinkedIn article, which was annoying because it was kind of the place I wanted it. But
Right.
yeah, there are all kinds of opportunities in YouTube, and I think sometimes, and maybe we need to do another show on
I think so.
creator
Yeah.
mindset. But like really, there are so many variables, and when something doesn't go well and doesn't get much interest, and you put your heart and soul into it, and you're just banging your head against the wall, going, "Why?" It's so frustrating. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, I'm so deep in the trenches with that at the moment. It's been a tough
You
week.
know, I think so. It's interesting because, I think there's a point where, yeah, something you put a lot of work into does not get more than 20 hits or views or whatever. And you're like, Jesus, I really thought this would hit, this would hit a couple thousand. And I remember like this has been going on for, decades now. I remember
Mm,
back in 2010, Michael Buckley, who was What the Buck, like literally said like, I will repost a video if it does not do well. And I cannot do that. It's like something ingrained in me that's like, no, it's out there. I just have to push it harder somehow. But I think the beauty of shorts is I might be able to break that mindset there, because
mm,
shorts it's 7 seconds, 8 seconds. It really you can do a minute, but I feel like the things that hit the best are 10 and under. 7 to 10, I think, is the range, because it's just something about the human psyche. That's what we absorb, and then we're done. We've either made an attachment and we do want more, and that's when those people are going to go try and find you, or we're swiping to the next thing already. Like, I think that's the beauty of shorts, is the ability to redo something. Like, let's try this again. I know we're basically out of our time, but we'll go a little long. I did this freelance thing over the weekend, which is very much a commercial, very much an ad, which you can only find on TikTok. And if you do find it, hit me, find it and tag me, because I can't find it. They don't post it to their channel. It's posted as an ad, but they do A/B testing with all of these things. So they have multiple versions and they put them out there. And I feel like, that's a thing that's been working for marketers for decades and decades and decades. So why not apply that logic to content creation for a YouTube channel? Especially in the shorts thing, where it's like 10 seconds. Who cares? Like, if you watched the same essential 10 seconds, but 2 seconds of it are different twice, you probably just thought you saw it over on Facebook, and you're just seeing it again on this platform, right?
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, I've seen the same video 4 different times. I'll still watch it half the time, uh, or I would have already swiped past it in the first place. So who cares? I wouldn't have seen the middle, and if it was different, it didn't matter. So I think, try that. I think, there is someone out there. We were talking about TikTokers who use the same intro hook over and over and over again. And yeah, they do that so much so that if that intro hook works, a couple of times, then sure, why not use that and then just whatever the next thing is. Yeah, that 2 seconds that always lands, and then 5 seconds of something new, or even 3 seconds of something new, and 1 second of like, follow me, bye. Speaking of bye, now, hello, Joe.
Hey Joe, we're actually just wrapping up the show, but
Yeah.
it's great to see you. And thanks to everybody that's joined us in the chat live today. Walter and CG as well, and Joe. So it's been great to have your company today. Again, if you're just coming in now, you might want to head and check out the recording a little bit later. But we'll be talking about some updates for different programs and some exciting new equipment from Rode. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back roughly the same time next week, and we'll look forward to talking to you then.
Take care, everyone.